taxes, there's no excuse. You've been loosed.
This is From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Each week, Janice shares her wisdom to enlighten, educate, and advance the culture in America today. Janice Pons is a mother, author, and free thinker, and your host for our podcast this evening. Now let's join your host, Janice Pons.
Greetings, greetings, greetings. Come on in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. My name is Janice Pons. I'm the host on this podcast, From Destruction to Dignity, Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. Tonight, we're going to continue our amazing journey as we, the people who have been focused on this amazing specific path that we've been on together for a while now, gaining a clearer understanding regarding how our nation's structured, how it's supposed to work. Our beautiful flag behind us is a part of I want it to always be there. It connects us to our amazing nation, and this beautiful seal to remind us to pray for the president of this nation and his cabinet. Yes, I'm continuing to pray. I keep talking about those 265,900,000 working Americans who were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet in 2024. About 78% of our working Americans, they're still working to get out of the hole. We want them to do well. 80% of Americans said last year the country was going in the wrong direction. And they said, look, we're going to do something different. Voted accordingly. We got a mandate loud and clear saying we want something different, and we have it. So we've got a new leader. Yes, did we need a new leader? Absolutely we did. Was a lot at stake? Absolutely it was. And we are moving forward. Speaking of which, tonight, we're going to examine something that's generated a lot of discussion in our nation, DOGE, D-O-G-E, and our nation's recovery. What is DOGE? The Department of Government Efficiency. And from a clinical perspective, we're going to look at recovery from financial abuse. Listen, guys, we've been majorly financially abused in this nation. Oh, yeah. If you've been paying attention to what's been going on in this nation, you realize that a lot of money has been floating around this nation and this world, and it's going in somebody's pocket. And it's come from us, me and you, the taxpayers of America. Over and over, we've heard about our national debt and how we need to pay it all, pay off the national debt, pay off the national debt. Facts are important as it relates to our national debt. The money that's paid on the interest of the national debt, where does that money go? See, it's coming from us and it's going somewhere specifically, and it's saying, well, we're paying our bills. We're paying off the electricity. We're paying for the roads. We're paying for bridges. Listen, the money that's paid on the interest of the national debt has gone to some wealthy, rich people who live in Japan, Belgium, the United Kingdom, China, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Cayman Islands, Canada, Ireland, and Taiwan. For starters, around 70% of the U.S. debt is held by domestic financial actors and institutions in this nation. We've got to learn how to think. We've got to think differently, guys. Just to be informed, it's going to help you understand. Heretofore, it's operated, now stick with me here, as a Ponzi scheme. They've been getting rich off of us. There are people that are getting rich off of us as taxpayers. Listen, we haven't been paying the debt. We've been paying on the interest of the debt. Comparing a nation's economy to a Ponzi scheme is highly debatable, with some arguing that certain aspects of government spending, particularly Social Security, can be considered similar due to relying on future generations to pay for current benefits. But most experts would say that a whole nation is not directly run like a Ponzi scheme, as the core principles are fundamentally different. Now, let's look at that. Now, a Ponzi scheme is a deliberate fraud. While it's named after Mr. Ponzi, it's a deliberate fraud, while national economies are based on complex systems of production, trade, and taxation. Stick with me. Unlike a genuine savings account, where individual contributions accumulate and grow over time, Social Security structure is far more akin to a classic Ponzi scheme. Early recipients received far more in benefits than they ever paid in, while future generations faced escalating costs to sustain the system, to the point that they were saying, it ain't gonna be no money there by 2038. You know, we've heard the stories. We just gotta walk it out. Truly, we have a lot of things to wade through and walk out as a nation, particularly considering that we now know the debacle that we were dealing with. The national debt is currently approaching $37 trillion, which roughly translates into $106,133 for every person in the nation. Y'all got that kind of money floating around? So are we going to pay it off? I'm just talking out loud. I know that a lot of people are not aware of this, but it's the truth. There are people that have gotten wealthy off of us as U.S. citizens and the debt, the national debt. Additionally, under the Biden-Harris cabal, we were like slaves to them in a money. It's going to come out. You may say, where's she getting that from? It's going to come out. A money laundering scheme. Mark my word. It's going to come out. The president of Ukraine, he talked about money not getting to him. It came out about $2 billion was going to go to Stacey Abrams through some kind of thing that was set up. And it was like, what was she doing to get $2 billion? Huh? It's come out, COVID-19. People were getting millions of dollars, milking us dry. It was all a scheme. Fraud. Go look it up. This is not what this podcast is about tonight, particularly. But there have been schemes that's going on, and people been getting over like what I call getting over like a fat rat. So where's the money? Well, all this money. I hope that every single thing that has been done to us is uncovered and there is accountability. Oh, yes, I do. I don't know how all of this is going to pan out with what DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency, is discovering, yet there is no way that we can continue to operate the way we were as a nation. No way. But see, you got to understand that was a plan for us to implode. And then there was Trump. I like saying that. And then there was Trump. Some believe that the abused money that's being recovered, that Elon Musk is talking about all this money. They're talking about people getting $5,000 in taxpayers and so forth and so on. And people saying, no, that money needs to go towards Social Security. We know that we have to take care of the elderly and the abused. But guess what? I guess the Democrats didn't think so, because when it was time to for them to not have their Social Security benefits taxed, they voted against it. So they were not for the elderly and the disabled getting more money for their bottom line. But I guarantee you this, they had a bottom line that's been getting juicier and increasing more year after year. How do they go in making $174,000 a year, and within a matter of years they're multimillionaires? I'm just talking out loud. There are those who have a mindset of living their entire lives with a perspective of a cradle to grave nanny state. There's a lot of dynamics going on with that. I'll gladly take the $5,000 that's being discussed as an amount to be returned to taxpayers, and I will invest it strategically. I know we're surrounded with people who are trying to figure out how they're going to pay their rent, get groceries, buy gas, pay for insurance policies. The list is endless. They can't think about investing. Everybody's in a different place. I do know this. I tell you what I do know. President Trump understands business like no other president has before. And I will continue to pray for him daily to have the wisdom to know how to make the right choices for us as a nation and we the people. That's what my 101-year-old mama said that she wants him to do. She said, just make the right decisions as that she told me. She said, I'm learning to love him. My mom's been a dyed-in-the-wool Democrat all her life. We had the best conversation ever about this stuff. No administration has ever been perfect. However, the Biden-Harris cabal was taking us into the abyss at an entirely other level. They were doing things, guys, bringing in illegal immigrants who were criminals and loosing them on our street. Boy, I hope things unfold to the point where they got to be before the Senate or somebody giving an explanation for their choices. Look, if we look at what Biden did his last few weeks in office, that's going to tell us a lot. Oh, yeah. I had someone to challenge me by asking, well, how were taxpayers being robbed? I said, we were being robbed. They were taking money for us. We, the people, were paying the salaries of those on Capitol Hill, starting with a minimum salary of $174,000, along with the perks and freebies. Yes, that's what we were paying. I don't mind paying them if they're doing their job. But the truth of the matter is that they've used us as slaves, as they have utilized automatic deductions from our paychecks to sponsor their path to prosperity. I don't mind anybody prospering, but how are you getting there? Let us in on some prosperity. It's time that we do things different in our nation. We just need to do something different. It's not equitable. We simply want things to be equitable. Is that asking for too much? Someone specifically asked how and who in the government is robbing taxpayers. The how involves payroll deductions. We don't have any say that automatically come out of our checks. That's how it's been operating. And then if you don't do it, you go through garnishment. I've seen people that go through protesting that stuff, filling out all kind of packets, blah, blah, blah. And they get jacked up. Anyway, I could tell you nightmares. So, where's that money coming from? Where's that money coming from? The payroll deductions. Where's the money coming from? This is exactly what we're finding out over the past few weeks. In the beginning of President Trump's term, the second term. The who, we know the how. What was payroll deductions, taking it automatically out of our checks. The who that have been robbing us are the ones that we are paying the interest to the national debt to. We've been there. We're paying the debt off. We're paying the debt off. We're paying, baby, we've been kicking the can down the road to our posterity. We've been paying on the interest to the national debt. These are people, like I said, in Japan, Belgium, the UK, China, Luxembourg, Switzerland, Cayman Islands, Canada, Ireland, Taiwan. For starters, 70% of the U.S. debt is held by domestic financial actors. Wealthy people who buy bonds, just so forth and so on. You need to study some things. And institutions in the United States, our taxpayer dollars have been paying for the housing, the health care, child daycare, the food, the free money card for illegal immigrants. These are the illegal immigrants that the Biden-Harris cabal purposefully brought into our nation for their political gain. They didn't care about us. We were slaves to pay for a political agenda. These illegal immigrants were even dropped off in our communities while they were COVID positive, while they were making us wear masks and making us get tested, and they weren't required to get tested. Make it make sense. This is some diabolical, wicked stuff. Oh, yeah. So, while our taxpayer dollars were robbed from us through the schemes of a political agenda, last year, In 2024, 78% of working Americans were living paycheck to paycheck, barely making ends meet. They didn't even know how they were going to get groceries. They had to decide on groceries or gas, let alone some extracurricular activity for their child or children. They were barely making ends meet. President Donald John Trump is focused on getting these illegal immigrants out who were convicted of crimes. Did you know that the Biden-Harris cabal allowed 13,099 convicted illegal immigrants to roam our streets that had been convicted, actually found guilty of committing homicide and kidnapping? Did you know that? That's crazy. Can you or I walk the streets if we've been convicted of homicide? And then they wanted to accuse President Trump of being insensitive and mean. And you had that Episcopal priest on the day of his inauguration talking about who's going to wash our dishes and clean our houses and pick our crops. You see what she thinks of them? Does she think of them in terms of who's going to provide me medical care? You see the mindset that she was locked into? Does she think that any of them or any minority can have a professional job? Thank God for the people that wash dishes and the maids and the housekeepers and all of those people that provide those types of services. I appreciate them, and I love to tip them and tip them good. Speaking of tipping, the Democrats want you to pay taxes on the tips. They voted no. They didn't want you to. People, they trying to make it, guys. Someone said to me, well, we need to be taxed on that so I can be in a position to buy a house. Baby, people, the average person, what is the percentage of people that are making a six-figure income from tips in that category of jobs? Not a large amount. They're trying to figure out how to make ends meet. 78% of working Americans, period, across the board were trying to make ends meet last year. 78%. Living paycheck to paycheck. President Trump has as a priority to get those criminals out of here. They're not our priority in terms of taking care of them because they've contributed to an unsafe environment. If you have any any doubts about that, ask the family of Lake and Riley. Ask the residents of the apartment complexes in Arizona that have been taken over by the Venezuelan gangs. Did you know that the illegal border crossing, I think I said it last week and it's worth repeating because it's magnificent, is decreased by 94% since President Trump was inaugurated. In less than 3 weeks, it went down by 94%. Did you know that there are now 10,000 Mexican troops on their side of the border taking care of that issue? Did you know that? That's because we have an amazing president. I believe that it will come out that we've been subjected to the largest money laundering scheme in the history of mankind. Let it be busted wide open. That's just the tip of the iceberg. There's a new sheriff in town, and we will get details that have never been made available to us before. But it's about time. All these dynamics leads us into a way of thinking that can hopefully take us from destruction to dignity. Clinical Perspective, Spiritual Truths. That's the name of this podcast. It's really clear that we have experienced some financial abuse in our nation that is destructive. From a clinical perspective, let's wrap this up by examining recovering from financial abuse. Recovering from financial abuse. What is the definition of abuse. Financial abuse often occurs alongside other forms of abuse. It can include money being stolen or misused. Sometimes people are taken advantage of by other people for their own personal gain. They're exploiting or profiting from that person. Financial abuse. Oh yeah, there are terms to consider to determine if something, if we're being taken advantage of, like exploiting, profiteering, gold digger, a person who pursues a relationship with someone else for the sole purpose of using their money, con artist, a person who uses deception to manipulate and steal from a victim. Oh yeah, these are abuses. What is the legal term for financial abuse? Financial exploitation is when someone steals or misuses money or assets on purpose, such as intentional misappropriation. We're talking about financial abuse. What is going on in our nation where we have been financially abused? Of course, on a personal level, if a person has experienced financial abuse, there are some considerations. Determine the value of the relationship. Can you freeze your credit line? If you've discovered that your name is being used to open credit lines and take out loans, you can put a freeze on those accounts because they're in your name, even if you didn't know about them. Avoid paying other people's debts. Signing somebody's note, creating financial boundaries and compromise, joining private accounts for shared costs. Open communication has to take place. Calmly and openly talking about finances may help in situations where financial abuse is an unintentional consequence of some things that occurred. It has to be talked about. It can be difficult to spot signs of financial abuse within a relationship, but once you identify it, you've got to work towards addressing it. One thing you got to remember is that you got to approach the situation calmly. You can discuss your household expenses and work together on a financial plan that you both agree with. Distancing love and money. Remember that giving someone money isn't the same as love. Even genuinely having financial trouble, it's not gonna, you love somebody, but it's not gonna fix a financial problem. You gotta have money, but if it's being mismanaged, you got a mess. While you may experience guilt tripping, anger, or manipulation tactics as a result of denying someone's financial assistance, listen, you got to make some decisions. We got to consider things. These dynamics with our nation are totally new and unique. We're in some uncharted territory. This speaks to us praying for our president and his cabinet. They need wisdom. In my years of seeing 13 different presidents, I've never seen the dynamics that we're seeing now. So much is being exposed. We have to put our seatbelts on. Walk by faith and not by sight. Our leaders need godly wisdom like never before. Additionally, like never before, we need leadership with backbone. What have we looked at tonight? DOGE and our nation's recovery. Our clinical perspective has been about financial abuse. Listen, we're one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Listen, you see that beautiful flag behind me? I love the flag. I love this seal. It reminds me of praying for Donald Trump. I've never seen a man like him. I was listening to somebody talk about his spiritual walk. It was who's that lady prays for him? Paula White. You can say what you want to say about the woman, but I was listening to her giving her testimony of knowing him for 23 years. It was powerful. I'm going to tell you this. I had a respect for her that I didn't have before because I didn't know. There's certain things we don't know. But I recommend you go to YouTube and listen to her interview by PBS. And what she had to say about how she met him. He reached out to her. It's just, I'm not even going to get into it. It's worth our listening to. And how he really loves the Lord. And people say, he's not a Christian. That man loves Jesus. And he's not ashamed of it. I looked at them having the first cabinet meeting. And he had the Secretary of HUD. He asked him to pray. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful. And he said, lead us in grace. And so they prayed. And it was just beautiful that day. And he said, that was really nice. That was just really good. You did such a good job. That man loves God. Oh, yeah. Anyway, I could just go. That's a whole nother podcast. But listen, this nation has been under a ferocious attack. And we're going to either do something different and go towards solutions. But what we've looked at tonight is DOGE and the role that it's going to play. A lot is being uncovered, but it's the tip of the iceberg, and we got to pray for wisdom for our president and all of those that are working on our behalf. Listen, those are multi-billionaires. People said, Elon Musk, he wants our money. You think that he's the richest man in the world? He's trying to get us straightened out. He's trying to get us straightened out. He and Trump are. Listen, trust God and pray for them. The rest of them were taking your money and abusing us. Financial abuse was rampant in this nation, and it's being uncovered. Listen, we're one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Listen, we're going somewhere. Yes, we are. And it's expecting us when we get there. Come go with me. I think about the staple singers in that song about, I'll take you there. Oh, yeah. I know a place, ain't nobody crying, ain't nobody worried. It's going to be a lot of smiling faces. And the lying to the races that has been rampant in this nation is in the process of being stopped. I'll take you there. Yeah, I know a place. Ain't nobody crying. I like that song. It takes me back to the 60s. We were coming out of Jim Crow. We were coming out of a lot of mess. And we had come through. And I'm telling you what. Ooh, Lord God. We have just come through 4 years of torture. And it's a new day in America. We got to pray for our nation. Pray for our president. Pray for each other. And use logic, basic logic, and deductive reasoning, and join together as one, and let's see what happens. Listen, I appreciate you coming. God bless you. I love you. I'll see you next week. Good night.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of From Destruction to Dignity with Janice Pons. Janice's mission is to provoke thought, bring awareness, and point people towards intervention when needed. As a reminder, this show is not therapy, but for educational purposes only. For more information, check out JanicePons.com or follow her on social media.
We are one power, strength is ours, liberty, been set free, education, affirmation, dedication, information, revelation.